man. Thank you, Seneca. Thank you. I appreciate you for bringing me on. It's an honor to be on this platform today to speak to our kids. I'm passionate about that, and I love doing it. Just a little background about myself. I'm a motivational speaker. I do speak on peer pressure, gun violence, bullying, and also give our students tools to become successful. So I'm a two-time author of two of my books called Coach Daryl's Coach and Foster Dad. I'm a former Division I basketball player. I'm a former foster parent of 8 years. I fostered probably about 40 to 50 kids over our 8-year span. I'm a graduate of the Steve Harvey Act Like a Success School of Business. And also I've been mentoring at Steve Harvey's mentoring camp for the last 4 or 5 years for young men ages 14 to 18. So today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about negative peer pressure and how to avoid negative peer pressure and how that kind of keeps you from reaching your dreams and goals. And at the end, I'm gonna give you 4 tools on how you can become successful using these tools as well. So we'll just jump right into it. How many of you guys grew up having close friends growing up? Like, guys you hung out with or friends you hung out with? I was the same way. I was just like that. Myself, it was 5 of us. So just for name's sake, I'm just going to name us 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 by ages. So I was number 2. So, young kids, you know how it is when you're in school. We did everything together. We played football, basketball, ran track, ran after the girls, stayed at each other's homes, you name it. We hung out. We were just like this. I mean, every single day we're hanging together. We're being together. We're being kids, So one thing about life is full of progressions. And what I mean by that is, when you're 12 years old, you probably don't want to still be running and hanging out with the 6-year-olds. Once you get 21, you want to progress and you don't want to be still running with the 11 and 12-year-olds. So number 3 of my group, he decided at a certain point that he wanted to kind of go off and hang with these other guys, right? And they're doing a lot of negative things in the community. Now, don't get me wrong. We all did things. We all, made mistakes or whatever. So nobody's perfect. But these guys were selling drugs. They were doing a lot of dirty things in the community. And the peer pressure that he had with those guys was weighing heavy on him. So after so long, we used to try to keep him away from them guys, but he was making so much money that, fast money, that he stayed hanging with them. So I'll never forget, man, time went on, those guys started, taking the drugs they were selling. They started to rob people, which was crazy. You're making all that money, then you start robbing people. So I'll never forget, one day I got a phone call from number 3's mom. And she called me and she said, Corey, have you heard from my son? She said, we had pagers back then. She said, I paged him, but he didn't actually return the page. She said, I'm kind of worried about him. I know he's not a perfect kid, but he always called me back. So come to find out, remember what I said, what you put out in the atmosphere, you receive back. So he's going around robbing people and selling drugs and all that kind of stuff. And one day it came back on him. He was 2 blocks away from his home. 2 blocks away from his home. And one of the guys that he had previously robbed found out where he was. So they were in this abandoned home and they were in there shooting dice, him and the guys he was hanging out with. And the guy find out, he walked into the abandoned home, walks into the back room, they're back there shooting dice. So now my friend number 3 goes down, and his turn to shoot. The guy walks in the room, shoots him in the back of the head. Everybody scatters from the room. His so-called friends, they left. The guy took his money, he took his jewelry, he took his clothes, and he ran off, right? They left him in that house by himself, supposedly his friends that he was hanging with. So later that afternoon, I'm at number 3's mom's house. And, when she found out, the scream that she made, it almost made me feel guilty for being alive because her son is now gone, right? It was unbearable scream that I heard. So a couple of days later, we're at the funeral home, and it's 1, myself, 4, and 5, and number 3 is sitting on the table in front of us, all due to the impact of negative peer pressure, right? So a couple of years go by, and I get another phone call. And by this time, I'm in my early 20s in college, and I get a phone call, and I have a kid on the way. So I get a phone call from number 5, and he tells me, Corey, 5 guys just jumped on me a little while ago. They put me in the hospital. I'm about to leave the hospital right now. We're about to go retaliate. Are you going to go with us? Right? So I'm sitting there like, what do you do at that point in time? Like, how do you respond to that? Put it in the chat. What do you do if that number 5 call you and he says, we're going to go respond to this incident? You know, what do you do? This is your buddy. You just lost number 3. Number 5 give you that phone call. What do you do? What do you do in that situation? And there's no right or wrong answer. I'm not about that life. Cool. Yeah. And like I said, to be perfectly transparent with you, when I was probably a little younger, my idea probably would have been, let's go back. Let's go back to retaliate. Let's go back to get him. Right. And so he called me and I talked to him on the phone and I said, listen, man, the first thing about this is if it took 5 guys to jump on you, they're all cowards anyway. Right. So there's no shame in what happened in this situation. On top of that, you know, they know they were wrong. They probably kind of expected some type of retaliation. So he said, okay, see, I hear you, man. Okay, cool. And he moved on and he called some more guys. And those guys gave him the opposite instructions. They was like, oh, man, don't let anybody sit there and do that. Go ahead and go back and retaliate. So there, the peer pressure go again. You know, they're sitting there trying to egg him on to do something that he really shouldn't have been doing. So now we sit there, and this is the crazy part about it. The guys that told him to go retaliate, they didn't even go with him. They didn't even go with him. So he ended up calling number 4 and asking him, can he take him back for the retaliation? So 4 tells me they go over there and they go look to retaliate against the guy. And they see him. They find him. And number 5 gets out the car, chasing after the guy on foot. It's dark, and they end up having a gunfight. Right? 4 turns the car around, comes back, and you see 5 is running to the car holding his jaw. And he's like, man, they hit me. They got me in the jaw. So 4 takes off, takes 5 to the fire station. They work on him, end up transferring him to the hospital. They put him on an operating table, but unfortunately, they hit a main artery, and he dies on the operating table. Right? So now I get the phone call from number 4. Hey, see, we got to meet over 5's house. He had just been killed. So I get there, front seat is a puddle of blood, right? And his mom don't even know what happened yet. She's at work. So she comes home from work, gets there, and guess what I hear again? That scream when she finds out. The unbearable scream of losing a child, right? So let me explain something to all of the students that may be on the call. Don't you dare put your parents or guardian in a situation to where they have to scream over your body from a decision that you make, right? So now we're at the house, and a couple of days later, we're in the same familiar situation again at the funeral home. 1, myself, and 4, and now our buddy 5 is laying on the table also. All those things came from the impact of negative peer pressure from people that they're so-called friends. And let me explain something to you. If there's anybody that's trying to get you to do anything that's wrong or not what you're supposed to be doing, those are not your friends. Those are not people that you should say the word friends to, because they're not your friend. Your friend is not going to put you in harm's way or guide you to a situation that's negative at all. So I said all that stuff to say this. When you're trying to become successful, all the things like negative peer pressure, negative people, negative energy, it keeps you from seeing your vision. It's like a cloud that's over you. It's a cloud that's over you. And it's almost like you're driving a car at night and it's pouring down rain and you don't have any windshield wipers. Like it's only so far that you can go. And eventually you're going to crash. You'll end up either in jail or in the ground, listening to the wrong people and the wrong things. So if you avoid all that stuff, if you can avoid the negative people, if you can avoid all the things that you don't need to be dealing with, now your vision opened up. Your vision opened up and you can see now what do you want to become in your life. So now, since our vision is clear and we want to become successful, somebody type in successful in the chat or success in the chat. Because at this point now, this is when you can try to make the transition. You can go ahead and move forward on becoming successful in your life. So now I'm going to give you 4 tools that you will need to become successful. in school, in life, or however you may choose to use them. The first thing, number one, is you have to be grateful. Like, you got to be thankful for every single thing that you have at this point in your life, no matter how big or no matter how small it is, right? Like, you may have $50. Well, there's somebody that just only have 20. Well, if you have $20, there's somebody that don't have anything. So always be grateful for whatever you had at this point in time in your life. I can remember when I first went to high school. Some of you guys are in high school. My freshman year in high school, I had 4 pair of pants. And what I used to do is whatever I wore Monday, I would turn around and wear Friday, and I would just switch the shirts out, right? Nobody really even paid attention to it or even knew it. But I was thankful for what I had. It was clean, and it was the things that I had. So that's what I did, right? And just think about it like this. What if you guys gave me $100 bill out of the goodness of your heart? And you say, hey, Corey, I just want to bless you with this $100 bill. And I take the money and I tear it up and throw it in the trash can, right? Wasn't grateful for it. So how would that make you feel? Wouldn't be too good, right? Like, what would you say to me if I did that to you? Probably not so kind words, right? You're trying to knuckle up on me. And the big question is, would you give me any more money after that? Probably not. And it works the same way in life. Like, how are you going to receive more blessings if you're not even thankful for the things that you already have? Right? So that's my first point. You're trying to become successful. The very first thing you do is to make sure that you're thankful and grateful for where you are at this point in your life. 2, you got to work hard, right? We live in today's society to where everybody wants to hook up the discounts, the coupons, the get me this off, 50%, whatever you got to get. And trust me, as a people, like, we need help sometime. I don't have any problems with that. But don't get so wrapped up into getting something for nothing that you lose your work ethic, right? You value the things that you work for. I can remember when I first went to college, Jacksonville State University, my first year in college, I didn't have a cell phone and I didn't have a car. And just imagine, like, now going off to school with no phone and no vehicle, right? Be a tough thing to do for these kids. Now they can't even go a half a day without a cell phone. So, but I went to school my first year I walked everywhere through on campus. Had to get rides home on the weekends. But you know what I did? That first summer when I got back home from school, I went to Walmart. I worked the entire summer and I purchased my first car on my own. It was an old Escort, but hey, it was mine. The air worked, the heat worked, it was clean. I kept it up. Hey, the girls would ride with you. As long as you had a whip, I was good. I thought I was balling back then. I got a Ford blue Escort. Used to go out of town, man. I had a great, but I worked for it. You value those things you work for. Some of my friends in college, man, their moms and dad had gifted them cars, brand new cars out of high school. And they was wrecking them. They was tearing them up. They was running them in the mud because they didn't appreciate it. They didn't work for it. So they didn't understand the value of working hard, right? I have this trophy right here. And I got this trophy, and I'm going to read what it says to you. It says, Birmingham City Schools Cross Country 9th place trophy. And I know you're probably saying to yourself, Corey, why are you talking about a 9th place trophy? Or better yet, why do you even still have a 9th place trophy after all this time? So I'm glad you asked those questions because I got your answer for you. So this was a cross country race, and I played all sports in high school. I played football, I played basketball, I played baseball, I ran track. This cross country thing is a whole totally different animal, right? All those miles you have to run, and I have never ran cross country before. So I sat there and I ran the race. Now I'm explaining to you, this race had 100 people running in the race. There were 10 schools, 10 runners from each school, 100 people. So I got to running and I got started. And I was running and I was so tired. And I'm telling you, every time I got to the corner and thinking I was about done, the guy would be at the corner saying, go that way. I look up, there's another mile or two. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to kill me. So when I finally got to the end of it, there was nobody in front of me and there was nobody behind me. So I had no idea where I was, in the race. And I finally made it. I finally drew across the finish line. And the guy says, 9th. And I was like, 9th? He would say, yeah, you got 9th place. they gave out trophies to the top 10. And I'm sitting there like, you mean tell me there's 91 people behind me? He's like, yes, sir. So then I started to kind of stand up a little bit, like, hey, kind of stuck my chest out a little bit, like, hey, that's like making a 91 on the test. You know what I'm saying? If you're in ninth place out of 100 people, that's like I made an A on the test. So now I kind of stood up and kind of put my chest out, like, hey, man, I did pretty good in this thing. I was tired, but, I valued it. And I still have this trophy today because I worked my tail off for it. And my message is you value and you keep up with the things that you work for. So number one, let's make sure that we're grateful for wherever we are right now in this point in time in our life. Number two, make sure we work hard. Three, you got to have big dreams and goals. You got to have big dreams and goals. Like, do not let the things you see with your eyes in your neighborhoods, in your schools, in your local surroundings dictate what you can become in your life, right? There's a whole big world outside of just your area, your local community. And I get it. I was the same way. I was born and raised in Kingston Projects in Birmingham, Alabama, and all I knew was the hood. That's all I knew. I didn't know anything else outside of what I saw every day. So, but I've been blessed and I've been fortunate enough to go out the country a couple of times. I've been to New York with my books. I've been to LA with my books. I've been all across the country speaking. And everything is not just what you see in your school and what you see in your neighborhood. That's a big, big world that's waiting for you to shine in it outside of your local areas. One of my big dreams and goals for myself is I would love for my first book to be a film, right? I don't have the access to get that done, but you know what? As long as you're working and you continue to push forward your dreams, the help will come. When I first wrote my first book, I had no idea on how to write a book. Like nobody in my family had written a book before. But that can't be an excuse for you. You can't say just because I don't know how to do this that you're just going to give up. Like get yourself around people who've done what you're trying to do. So I went to workshops, I went to courses, I took classes on trying to learn how to be better, and the help will come. Even when I was writing the book, I was halfway through writing the book when a friend of mine called me and asked me, did I have an editor? I did not. And that editor came up once I was halfway writing the book. Second person called me one day. I made a Facebook post, but I had a book coming out. I wasn't even through writing the book yet. She said, Corey, do you have somebody to do your book cover for you? I was like, no. She connected me with a person and I got my book covers done. But all that help came after the fact, after I was already working. So you got to be working on something. You got to be pushing towards your dreams, right? Your dreams should be so big that there's absolutely no way that you can achieve them without help, right? If you can do it on your own, then your dream is not big enough, not big enough at all. So number one, be grateful. Number two, you got to work hard. Three, let's make sure we have big dreams and goals. And four, make sure that you have faith. You have to believe in yourself that you can do it, right? These are your dreams. I mean, just say it. My dreams are my dreams, right? Tell people you can't have my dreams. Like people are not going to be excited about your dreams. Your dreams are given to you for you, not anybody else. Now, I can remember one time when I was at the Steve Harvey Act Like a Success School Conference, they had the School of Business that they were offering. It was a year-long course, and it was a pretty costly amount, and I didn't have the money to pay for it. So they came back and said, well, you can make 12 monthly payments on it. Well, I could make the first payment, but I didn't know how I was going to make the rest of it. So I go upstairs and I talk to my wife about it. And I said, hey, they got this course downstairs. I'm going to take it. They're trying to help you start your business, trying to help you get off the ground with what you're trying to do, but I don't have the funds for it. She was like, it's going to be up to you if you want to do it or not. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking around like, wow, what am I going to do? And you're going to come to a point in your life, you'll be in the same situation to where you're going to be looking all around and there's going to be nobody to ask. And that's when you show your faith. That's when you say, okay, you got to have faith in the higher power that you actually can make it. So I went downstairs and I actually signed that paperwork for that 12-month course. And I had no idea how I was going to pay for those courses. But I'm also a former foster parent and I'm also a high school referee. So all of a sudden, once I made that decision, I started getting summer games, AAU basketball games, other foster kids coming to the home. And long story short, I actually paid the course off in 10 months instead of 12 months. And in March 2018, I released my first book. And 2 weeks later, I was in Los Angeles graduating from the Steve Harvey Act Like Success Institute School of Business, right? So you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So with those 4 things, being grateful, work hard, having big dreams and goals, and having faith and believing in yourself, you can do anything that's possible that you want to do. So now, the last thing about being successful is you got to say it. Like there's power in your tongue, what you speak out of your mouth. You have to speak life and speak things into existence. So wherever you are right now, I just want you to stand up with me. I just want you to start saying what you're going to be. Like you got to say, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be in the NFL. I'm going to be the president of the United States. You got to open your mouth and speak that thing to reality, right? So I want you all to repeat after me. You will repeat after me. I will be successful. Second time. Say it like you really mean it this time. I will be successful. Now, this last time, let everybody in the building hear you say it. I want you to speak it out of your heart. I will be successful. Now, give yourself a hand clap. Give yourself a hand clap for that. Give yourself a hand clap. Because it's going to happen. We've got the tools, we got the vision, and we've said it. So now, this last part I'm going to give to you before I close is we're going to be successful because we already spoke. Okay? Now, that's not the end of the story. It's not the end of the story. So once you become a success, it's kind of like you just scored your touchdown in a football game. You've worked hard to get down the field and score a touchdown. The coach always has some decision to make. He can go for 1 or go for 2, right? On the field, most people are going to go for 1 and kick the extra point because it's easier. Now trying to go for 2, they back you up. It's a little harder. Most people are not going to do it because, they're only going to do it if they have to. In your life, once you become success, you're going to have that same option. You can go for 1 and you can take care of yourself and your family, which is good. Like, trust me, we need more people just to be able to do that. Or you can go for 2 and you can go that extra mile and you can reach back and help out another young man. Young ladies, you can reach back and help out another young girl who may be going down the wrong path, because that's what life's all about. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, like, we receive our blessings when we go out and bless other people. So my message to you all this year. So once you become a success, which we said we are going to do, I want you to go that extra mile. Why? It's guaranteed to make your heart smile. Listen to me, man. If nobody haven't told you today, this week, this month, or this year, I'm proud of you. And go out and do great things this year. I love you. I'm Corey McKinney. That's my time. Thank you all.